Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers, and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
Look, we're at a point now where the silence is almost deafening, and that's exactly when things tend to happen. The Blue Jays have been in this holding pattern for weeks, and every insider with any credibility is starting to say the same thing. Something's coming. The question isn't if anymore, it's when and who. Ken Rosenthal just dropped a report that should have every Jays fan paying attention. He's not speculating, he's not throwing out maybes. He's saying flat out that Toronto has at least one more major signing in them this offseason. Not could have, not might have. They have one more big move coming. That's the language you need to focus on here, because Rosenthal doesn't throw around guarantees like that unless he's hearing something concrete from his sources. Now, he mentions Alex Bregman as a strong fit, pointing to the fact that George Springer and Miles Straw are already in Toronto. Sure, that connection makes sense on paper. But here's where it gets interesting. We're days away from Christmas, right at the point where these big dominoes usually start falling, and suddenly multiple insiders are all singing the same tune. Robert Murray went live yesterday and said he wouldn't rule out one of these major free agents coming off the board between now and the holiday. He's talking about Soto, Bregman, potentially Bellinger, and yes, Kyle Tucker. That's not random speculation from some nobody. Murray has built real credibility with agents and front offices. When he says something's brewing, you listen. Then you've got Jeff Passan. You've got all these guys who've been connected to this story, and they're all pointing in the same direction. Movement is coming soon. But what really stands out to me is how quiet it's been from the Toronto side. Ben Nicholson Smith, Sheeta Viti. These guys who are plugged directly into the organization haven't said much lately. And if you followed the Jays long enough, you know that silence usually means something's actually happening behind the scenes. When there's nothing going on, they'll fill the void with content. When deals are close, they go quiet because they don't want to mess anything up. So let's talk about Kyle Tucker specifically, because this is where things have gotten genuinely wild. The recruiting effort from Toronto has been relentless and very public. A couple weeks back, it was Vlad commenting on Tucker's Instagram. Then Joey Votto got involved, Miles Straw, Tyler Heineman, all telling him to come to Toronto. That's not normal. Teams don't usually put on this kind of public full-court press unless they're seriously in it and trying to make an impression. And it hasn't stopped. Just yesterday, there were new developments with Instagram follows. Dave Popkins followed Tucker about 2 weeks ago. Now Ernie Clement apparently just followed him. Jose Bautista too. Does an Instagram follow mean a deal is done? Obviously not. Is it fun to track, and does it tell us that the Jays players are clearly coordinating some level of recruitment? Absolutely. This isn't random. When you have this many guys from one organization all publicly trying to recruit the same player, that's orchestrated. The front office might not be directing it, but they're definitely not stopping it. And the players clearly think there's a real shot here, or they wouldn't be wasting their time. Here's what we know for sure. The Blue Jays need to make a splash. They've said it themselves. Mark Shapiro came out recently and essentially admitted they need to get better. That's not exactly breaking news to anyone who watched last season, but it's significant that he's saying it publicly because it means they're under pressure to actually deliver. The division has gotten tougher. Baltimore added Pete Alonso, and they're not done. They're looking to add more pitching. Boston got Wilson Contreras. They're in the mix for other pieces. The Yankees are always the Yankees. If Toronto stands pat with what they have right now, they're not competing for anything meaningful next year. So who's the move? Bregman keeps getting mentioned in all these reports, and I get why. Scott Boras, client, proven player, fits a need at third base, has those connections to guys already in Toronto. But the more I hear about Bregman being pushed in these reports, the more I wonder if it's leverage. Either the Jays are leaking interest in Bregman to put pressure on Tucker's camp to make a decision, or Boras is using the Jays to drive up Bregman's market. My gut says it's probably the former, because if it was Boras driving the narrative, you'd probably see John Heyman writing about it more, since he's basically the Boras mouthpiece. Tucker makes so much more sense for this team. He's younger, he's more durable, his skill set fits perfectly in that lineup. You plug Tucker into the middle of that order with Vlad and Bo, assuming Bo is still there, and suddenly you have a legitimate top of the lineup that can compete with anyone in the American League. Bregman is good, don't get me wrong, but you're paying for past performance and hoping the aging curve is kind to him. With Tucker, you're getting a guy entering his prime who can anchor your outfield and line up for years. The other name that keeps floating around is Cody Bellinger, but I don't see that happening for Toronto. The Yankees seem like the more logical landing spot if he moves, and honestly, I think Bellinger would be the most disappointing outcome for Jays fans of all the realistic options. He's had one good year recently after several mediocre ones. That's not the kind of bet you want to make when you're trying to close the gap in this division. What's encouraging about all of this is the timeline. We're not hearing about this dragging into January anymore. Multiple sources are saying something could happen before Christmas or shortly after. John Morosi said over a week ago that Tucker was supposed to be nearing a decision within 48 to 72 hours. That didn't happen, obviously, but the fact that time frame got pushed out to now, right before the holiday, suggests we're genuinely close. These negotiations don't drag on forever. At some point, the player and the team either find common ground or they don't, and we're at that point now. Think about it from Tucker's perspective. He's heard the pitches. He knows what each team is offering. He's seen the recruiting effort from Toronto. He knows the Dodgers are probably involved because the Dodgers are always involved. Maybe a mystery team or two. But you can only take so many meetings and weigh so many options before you just need to make a call. The recruiting from Toronto has been unlike anything we've seen in recent memory for the Jays. That has to count for something. Players want to feel wanted, and Toronto has made it crystal clear that they want Kyle Tucker. The question I keep coming back to is whether one move is enough. Rosenthal says they have at least one more major signing coming. Does that mean they could do two? Could they realistically land both Tucker and someone like Bregman or another significant piece? Probably not, given the financial constraints and the fact that they've already added some depth pieces this offseason. But one true star-level addition changes the entire outlook for this team. It shifts them from fighting for a wild card spot to genuinely competing for the division. Here's the reality. This offseason has felt frustrating for Jays fans because we've been stuck in this limbo of rumors and reports without any real action on the big names. But that's how it always works with these top-tier free agents. They take their time, they weigh their options, they use teams against each other to maximize their value. It's annoying to sit through as a fan, but it's the process. What matters is being there at the finish line with the best offer when the player is ready to decide. And by all accounts, Toronto is right there. The recruiting, the reports from credible insiders, the timeline we're hearing about, it all points to something happening very soon. Maybe it's Tucker, maybe it's Bregman, maybe it's someone we haven't even considered yet. But the Blue Jays are making a move. They have to. The pressure is on, the division demands it, and they've positioned themselves to actually land one of these guys. Now we just wait to see if they can close the deal. The next week is going to tell us everything we need to know about what kind of team Toronto is going to put on the field next year.